amazing.
Yes,
It's
sir.
always an honor to be
Yeah.
back in the building.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? This is a seat of prophecy, so
Facts. You're not lying.
we back in the building. We back in the
Indeed.
ship.
And bro, we actually started at 3:44. I just looked at my
Hey,
hey, can't make this up. But look, here we go, man. So much, bro, has just transpired just over the past few months. Everything that you spoke about still applies till this day. Till
yes.
this day, in the
Pillar
words of the late
prophecies,
Deontay
yes.
Wilder. But seeing that, and then at the same time, Charlie Kirk, that happens.
Mm.
Then a few weeks later, Asada. So it's like polar opposites, two different things, two different type of energies, right?
Yes.
What
yes.
were your initial thoughts once you saw that first Charlie Kirk video when he got hit in the neck, in the jugular? What were your first thoughts?
See, I got my Wu-Tang colors on today.
Protect your neck.
So we'll start off there. Protect your neck. Because of the position that I find myself in as not only just a journalist but a watchman, I'm very versed in who this individual is prior to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when I saw that, it was wild,
Mm.
right? But I also had did a lecture a few days prior on the blood moon on September 7th. And every time the blood moons come around, you know what I mean? I was somebody to track the tetrad blood moons in 2014 and 15. I created a series called a Blood Moonologue. And it was, again, it was observing and tracking the information as it has been presented. And there's a group of people on the planet who shall remain nameless, or, we could come up with a different acronym for them. I don't want to put their name in the algorithm, but they always said during blood moons is when we settle our beefs. You know what I'm saying? Historically. So the one from 10 years ago, they were prepping and putting into play what it is that they're currently doing right now in terms of ethnic cleansing. They were clear about this. They spoke about it. They made references to all of the historical events that happened during blood moons as it pertains to them specifically. So I also was mindful, of the shift of positions that he was taking. So when I saw that, you know what I'm saying? I was like, oh, right, here we go. You know what I'm saying? This is a level of political theater that's about to go into a different octave. So I want people in my network specifically just chill, just fall back, don't say nothing. You're putting yourself literally in a witch hunt because they made it about witches. They ain't waste no time with that. You know, it's a culture war, and they need uh they 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 need verifiable ops, but it's not just that. I mean, this is the like one of those whodunit murder mysteries, the Agatha Christie or Magatha Christie is what they call them now, because there's so many, you know, there's so many different scenarios that are now at play all of a sudden. It qualified so many situations that these people had on the table that they needed answers to. You know what I'm saying? So just look at that week. They had acquired TikTok that week, or they was in a play to acquire TikTok. I mean, they closed up shop. They had a phenomenal week that week.
Yeah.
They ended. They closed mad, and then you see the master teachers always tell us, right? Or even like when we look at murder mysteries, they like first they tell you to follow the money, and then they say, who's the first one to pop out. So we seen who popped out first, making proclamations that, oh, he loved us and we ain't had no issues with him, and then he popped out again. Then I'm just like, come on, son. You feel me?
Yeah.
You stop bombing Qatar to do this. You know what I'm saying? Why this? We caught so much flack as a community for debates, right? The Harlem community caught so much flack. The quote unquote conscious community caught so much flack for debates, only to find out that that is the crux of democracy all along, right? Why so serious? Why did they get so angry at us, right? For doing what it is that we did. And I've never participated in debates. I sidestepped it and said, I don't debate, I demonstrate. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, but even for the Harlem community to catch the flack that they did, and the conscious community to be berated the way that they have been for the debates that they put on, I'm like, well, look, you got a whole folk hero. That's all he does, right? Is open his mouth and propagate. So I'm just like, quality of membership, bro. Look what they did for their great debater. You know what I'm saying? Um, so again, yeah, I'm looking at the metrics. I'm looking at how, this thing has been leveraged. You feel me? But I also understand that there was a cosmic imperative that if you was gonna do something like that, it would be the opportune time to do it. It happened on a Wednesday, in my pantheon of, studying the numbers 44. That's Wednesday is 44, shooting is 44, unaliving is 44. You know what I'm saying? And if you add the date up, it even equal 44. If you equal uh 9, 10, 25, all of these things came out. You know what I'm saying? So I was just like, kind of knew what I was looking at, but I still decided to remain silent, give it about, I gave it about 9 to 10 days.
Let it breathe.
Yeah. And then I came out and did my thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Um, even the day of the memorial, the 21st, solar eclipse, new moon on a Sunday. You feel me? A day allegedly before the equinox. That's a whole other story because that was not the equinox. Um, so I'm just like, look at this. You feel me?
Yeah.
They're not missing their opportunities. They're hitting all of the necessary hits that one has to hit in order to drum up what they're drumming up. Military is 44 because it's ruled by Mars. We've seen the military demonstrations yesterday. You know what I'm saying? In regards to him getting in front of, he didn't start going in until the 44th minute. You know what I mean? It's all there. Um, we have to understand the nature of what's taking place and why this war is domestic. You feel me?
Yeah.
They have a spokesperson up there that they bought and paid for. My last show, I told you who bought and paid for it. That regardless of which way people quote unquote voted, they still voting for the IDF, right? And people bought they you know what I'm saying? So we're getting caught up. The people are getting caught up and they want to silence the critics. They want to silence the noise. And of course, this is the last frontier because it's some Negroes running around that woke up all of a sudden and reminded themselves that they carried a birthright. So it's like, yeah, we're looking at a consolidation play across the board.
Mm. Man, Blue.
That's how I perceived it. You know
Man.
what I mean? But it wasn't confusing what I saw. I had just came back from New York and I stayed in New York for the summer and I stayed in Crown Heights
Wow.
amongst them. You know what I'm saying? Like literally, they have a nerve center in the building that I was in. And in the basement of the building that I was in, they have a centralized nerve center in that building where they got all the screens up. You know what I mean? They looking at shit in Tel Aviv. They looking at stuff right in Crown Heights. You feel me? These people are not playing no games. They got their own police, their own ambulance. They got everything situated. And people think that the capital is over there. No, the capital is right on Eastern Parkway. So we seeing like people in the neighborhood. I mean, it was crazy, bro. And I'm just looking at the dynamic of like how they live amongst people that they're borrowing their birthright, and them people is clueless. They have no idea. They just going on jolly and merry. They do the Eastern Parkway parade down there and everything, giving them all they loosh, and they just there sucking it up. You know what I'm saying? And it's just embarrassing how these people are so well organized and they just run routes around their ops, and we're all left just following the scattered pieces, but never looking at the centralized figure. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
That's heavy, Blue. And to your point about back in the day, conscious community. You know, I'm thinking about like my age group, right? I'm 28. When we were in college, like freshman year, 2015, we was watching y'all every single day, right? Learning
Right.
those things. But then what's crazy is, like as you were saying, these white boys, their blue, their red is a Charlie Kirk, is a Turning Point USA. They're learning how to intellectually spar from a Charlie Kirk. That's where they're getting all their talking points, all of that. For us,
Absolutely.
we were put on to Phil Valentine, Bobby Hemmett through y'all. So
Right.
y'all actually made us explore more, opposed to for them exploring less. How can we get, especially right now, our teachers, you know, such as yourself, the whole conscious community, back in that same, just I would say, era of learning again for our babies, because it's needed. Because as we see Turning Point USA,
I
they're
mean,
trying to
again,
teach
yeah,
all them.
it's appreciation in the agenda,
Yeah.
right? And if we don't know anything else from this situation, we need to know how powerful agendas are. We need to know how powerful end games are, right? Their agenda is tied to a religion, and that religion has an end game involved with it. You know what I'm saying? So, amongst all of the denominations of Christianity, because it's over 45,000, right? And, you know, we could speak historically as to why this happened when the Protestants broke from the Catholic Church, right? They had the ability to interpret for themselves now, as opposed to a Catholic. You can't read the Bible. You have an intercessor, and that intercessor is telling you what time it is, right? So the Protestants broke from that and they created a schism, same way that they say, and I refer to him as C.K. Kirkland. I don't even say his name. This individual, right, named C.K. Kirkland, I
Yeah.
was calling him Calvin Klein at one point. Now he's C.K. Kirkland. They said when he splintered, he created a million hymns, right?
Mm.
So think about, you know, when the Protestants broke, and now you have the ability to self-determine or make interpretations for yourself. So that's why there's all of these different variations, right? Um, but the main one is the postmillennialists, who we know today as the Christian nationalists, right? They're the most zealotry, right? But they're also the most serious, right? So they're the craziest, but they're the most organized and serious. So immediately he ran into funders, right? Niggas that had the
In
bag.
junior college, they said he was
Yeah.
discovered.
He was discovered, quote unquote, right? Coming from another think tank. So they got a major think tank called Ziglag, and Ziglag is comprised of billionaire Christian nationalists, right? Or people that want to push their agenda forward. So the shit that we grew up laughing at 3 in the morning because Pat Robinson and them was on TV, and
Selling
you
the
like,
holy.
yeah, you thinking that this is crazy, right? But not understanding the veracity of this particular variation or root of this quote unquote religion. They're dominionists as well. So they believe in they believe in the supernatural shit, right? This the stuff that we laugh at. Like, homie, he hitting people with the coat and they fainting, right? Or touching them on the forehead and they getting up and walking, right? This is who we talking about. So I had posed a question the other day. I'm like, where's the veracity? Where's the black God for the black Christians that still do miracles today? Right? Because I'm a minister. I read the book. I do my Pope Pablo every Sunday. I'm all up in this book. And I'm, all of this dead letter religion that I'm resurrecting with this living testament to show. But I'm like, where's it at today? For y'all, right? Where's your God at? Because they're showing you. They're showing you their ability to not just channel an entity that speaks directly for them, but they believe in that shit. The belief factor is what's carrying them through. So they insist on, again, supernatural occurrences. They speaking in tongues, right? They doing the nigga shit, right? And we just getting muscled out of every single thing. We're not organized. We don't have an agenda. And there's all of these different splinter groups. So everyone is sitting on a podium talking about what needs to be done, but nobody's coming together, right? And it's like, in order to come into your thing, I gotta do what you do. I gotta be one of you. Where's our agenda? We don't have an hour and agenda. You know what I'm saying? But those people have the ability now to drive not just their agenda, now they have fused their agenda with politics, so they're driving the country, and then this country's driving the world. So now it's a global agenda, right? These people were once on the fringes. 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, you looking at the Pat Buchanans and the Pat Robinsons and all of them, and you laughing. Well, they up now. So Ziglag, like I said, was it's the bigger secret society organization, if you will, right? With the billionaires, Unilever, these are CEOs of these major companies that we still continue to support this day, right? They want to target boycott, they want to boycott Target, but not the financial donors that's behind this administration that gave them the playbook. You think that homie's coming up with the plays? He was given a script, right? And then we sat on this couch and told niggas about Project 2025. And I'm hurt in my heart because my compatriots, my partners, people who I consider like, okay, you know, I can go and take a nap because they're gonna keep the lights on. Nobody did their homework because they like, I don't even know who this cat was until recently. And I'm like, so,
I know.
y'all niggas didn't do no homework. Y'all wasn't keeping your eyes on the prize proverbially. You was caught slipping. You had something better to do, but y'all up on these platforms and these programs talking smack, but you don't even know who the players are on the board. These niggas are still in denial about DEI and affect us, but then they want to post about the 300,000 plus black women who lost their jobs. So it's like, which one is it?
Government potentially getting shut down
Right?
today, so that's even more.
Government is shut down.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The final purging. So those plays are put together by an individual named Russell Vought, who was one of the main goddamn scripters of Project 20. This is part of the script because the last vestige of authoritarian rule of this administration is to catch the purse strings. And the purse strings is controlled by Congress, and they're wrestling that control from them. This is the last step. Once this step is over, it's a wrap. So they're utilizing all of these dudes that I'm telling you is the architects. These the bald head niggas with the frames on. It's the nerds. It's the Stephen Millers and all of them, right? They're the ones that they're utilizing AI, right? And putting the plays together and giving them to the clown in office to run and then we're looking at him and being distracted, right? Because we're picking apart all of the things that we see about him that don't make sense. But he's just a puppet. He's just a mouthpiece. The brains behind him, you know what I'm saying? Is who you'll never be able to reach. You don't even know their names, let alone what they look like, right? Stephen Miller was the architect of the DC invasion takeover because he ain't like how he was being treated walking down the block type shit, right? But I'm just saying, these are personal grudges. They came in on November 5th, V for Vendetta Day. Every single one of them have their own personal vendetta. And this is a vendetta administration, right? This is a revenge administration being driven by Revenge of the Nerds.